Hi, Faith. Hi. Good evening, everybody. Good morning here from Nepal. I think we're a smaller group tonight, which is great because it means that I get to put everybody on the spot and ask. Let's do a little check-in. How are you doing? Just a sentence or two. What kind of, what has captured your attention this day, and characterizing therefore the kind of energy you're bringing into this meditation session tonight? Faith, how about you begin, and then you could pass it on to somebody else.
Sort of one foot in front of the other today. I just didn't had a subpar sleep situation last night, so I just got up and went through the day and did some reading and did a little TLC, and been trying to do that more lately. Than pushing through is always great, but not so like I'm blasting. So I'm trying to find that little place there where I'm still moving forward, but not feeling super overwhelmed.
Thank you.
As far as practice, I think kind of just waited until I felt that my mind was settled, and not just say, hey, time to do practice now, and just give a little bit more space for that today. With the goal of, as you say, you can't, the only wrong thing you can do is not doing it.
Thank you. Nancy. I'm putting people on the spot. If you prefer not to share anything, that's also okay.
What did you ask us? I'm sorry.
I asked you, how are you doing in this moment? Just a
Oh,
couple
in this moment, I'm really good. It's been a good day. Haven't done much, but I don't know, I've been in a good mood today. Good place.
Great. Thank you. Aaron.
Hello, everybody. Well, first of all, it's good to be back. I kind of disconnected for a couple of weeks trying to get stuff settled down with our move and everything else.
Okay.
Today and the last few days has been a little bit disjointed. Unfortunately, I'm back in quarantine again. So I had all sorts of plans over the next couple of weeks between work and personal stuff and family, and then they get the call saying, well, and I'm perfectly healthy, everything's fine, but I just have to quarantine for a couple of weeks because of potential exposure. And so so I guess it's just an example of when you have those best laid plans of, this is what my my schedule and my life holds for the next couple of weeks, and then someone calls in and goes, nope, we just want you to sit at home by yourself. So the last couple of days have been kind of just settling into what books I'm going to read, and it's been good to kind of slow everything down a little bit, because I had kind of gotten back on that little hamster wheel and was running pretty fast. So maybe this is someone's way of saying, maybe you should just sit down for a couple weeks rather than than addressing all those best laid plans that you had. So anyways, but overall I'm happy, healthy, family's all good, and my heart of course goes out each day to all those folks that aren't quite as lucky as all of us are to have our health and our friendships and our connections and everything else. So that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. Janet.
Oh, it's been a pretty good day for me. I had the day off, and so just got to do what I wanted to do today, and a little bit of what I needed to do. But so it's a nice evening. I can hear the birds singing, and good place for me.
Great, thank you. Deb, would you like to share anything?
Yeah, sure. I guess I've been feeling a little overwhelmed the last few days or so. Well, actually, probably maybe more longer than that. So I'm supposed to be I am working remotely, but I'm really not getting a whole lot done because I feel like I'm so distracted by a lot of things. My dad is sick back in Massachusetts and has been in and out of the hospital several times over the last couple of months, and I've driven back and forth from Colorado out there twice, and so there's kind of a lot going on, and yeah, so trying to get things done, but I guess being so scattered, I'm not being super productive, and that I think contributes to my stress.
Thanks a lot for sharing that. Ellie, hi, are you with us? Hi, Ellie, you're on mute. We can't hear you, but we can
Hi,
see you.
Christina. Hi.
Hi, Ellie.
Hi, everybody. So I'm just waiting for my surgery date and learning, I don't know how to say it exactly, but learning things about myself and new coping skills, and just very grateful to have my practice. And my brother-in-law is really ill and in the hospital, and so I don't know, everything just feels kind of stressed out right now, but it's nice to be here. So
Thanks for joining us tonight, Ellie. Sending good healing energy your way
yes,
and to your family, to everybody's family.
yeah.
Deb, to your dad as well. I just hopped on with Tracy, and I show up this morning with a heart that feels just kind of full and bursting. And part of it has to do with a documentary that I watched last night called My Octopus Teacher. And, watching that, which is very, very, very powerful and very beautiful, highly recommend it, is a heart-opening experience that I didn't expect. A couple of people had told me about it, and yeah, so I was so moved last night, and I woke up this morning, and that openness is still with me, and it's an openness of quite kind of wonder and awe and joy and absolute despair over the climate crisis and over people who may be denying the climate crisis. And there are, I know that there's all kinds of opinions about whether the climate changes have been something that human beings have affected or not. And I just, not laying judgment about that. I fall on the place of somebody who believes that human beings are playing a large role in the kinds of climate events that we're seeing. Anyway, not to go into that. So I was thinking, oh my goodness, how am I going to lead a meditation? I can barely sit with what I have. And so let's sit with it. I thought, let's do a little practice on sitting with emotions. Excuse me. In some ways, it's kind of the best thing to do. And because I watched the documentary late last night, I was planning to go to sleep afterwards. So I really didn't have that space to just kind of sit with a compassionate presence to all that it brought up in me. So I'm happy to be able to do that with all of you this morning. So find a comfortable seat for you. Maybe do a couple neck rolls. And just notice how your spine feels. Maybe you need to just gently do some twists if that feels right for you. Maybe rolling your shoulders up to the ear, just kind of to the extent that it's possible for you. Settle into aligning your spine in a natural way. Perhaps even just visualizing the muscles on both sides of it, holding it steady, being right where they need to be, not gripping, yet holding it with a gentle strength. And perhaps you can place your hands on your knees, or even just on the bottom of your foot if that's available for you, and just bring your attention to your feet. That have contact with the day, with the earth in the day. And just bringing forth a sense of rootedness that happens as we move around, use our feet and our legs, or simply just rest them on the ground. Getting a sense of being human beings that are supported by this planet Earth. And you can leave your hands on your knees if that feels comfortable. You could have them facing down. You could also have them facing up. I like to have them facing down. Feels a little bit more relaxing for me. And bring your attention up to your abdomen. I'm going to invite us to take some cleansing breaths together. And so you could even close your eyes for a moment and breathe a bit more deeply right into your belly, as though you're blowing it up as a balloon. And then exhale through your nose a little bit longer than you might ordinarily. So take about 4 or 5 deeper breaths right into the belly. Filling it all the way up and then exhaling completely. Maybe a little bit more forcefully if that feels okay for you. All the way out. Take 1 or 2 more and imagine as you inhale that the oxygen you're bringing in just gives some spaciousness to every single cell in your entire body. And as you exhale, then all that you don't need to keep with you right now just flows out of you on your breath. And then slowly come back to just your normal rhythm of breathing. If you've had your eyes closed, you might open them gently. Sometimes we forget to breathe. Our body doesn't, but it's always a place that we can return, and some deep breathing, as we just did, is a way of calming our own nervous system, activating the parasympathetic nerves. So we would just naturally start to relax. We're just getting a full sense of where your body's at right now. Noticing if you feel some tension in any one part of it. And perhaps as you exhale, just bringing a bit of consciousness to relaxing that place, or sending it some gentle healing breath. I'm going to share some instructions that I had prepared for today. This is by Dakpo Tashi Namgyal, and this is on doing the practice of shamatha without breathing, without using the breath. We could call this perhaps unsupported shamatha. The instructions tell us, do not place your attention on external visualized objects, on sounds or the like, nor on the inward and outward movement of the breath. Do not think about the past, what you did, or what happened previously. Do not think about the future, what you will do or what will happen later. Also, do not create thoughts about the present, about what appears or what is happening right now. Rather, allow yourself to remain relaxed and clear, lucid and at ease. Rather, allow yourself to remain relaxed and clear, lucid and at ease. So this is unsupported shamatha. We're going to just sit in a state of relaxation, clarity in the mind, aware of being conscious, aware of the natural knowing of our minds. While remaining that way, interrupt the practice. Then continue again as before. Do not maintain this too long at a time. Instead, repeat it many times. So what I'm going to do is invite us to just settle into that state of awareness of our own lucidity, the knowing quality of our mind. You may have thoughts that arise. You can notice if you're following them, then just bring yourself back to the present knowing. And we'll do very short sessions. We'll kind of interrupt that again and again by I will give you a small chime that interrupts it. It means just kind of refresh, move your body around a little bit, and we'll come right back. So every time you hear this chime, I'll ring it now to begin, and I'll ring it to kind of interrupt. And it means just drop whatever you're doing, just drop the practice, sit back, relax, roll your head, take a couple more deeper breaths, and then we'll come right back and sit into it. interrupt, just drop it, move a little bit, refresh yourself, come back, drop right into it again. Interrupt again, just move yourself a little bit, couple breaths, settle right back down into the practice. One last time. Interrupt, drop it fully, shift slightly maybe, then come right back. Just resting in our present fresh wakefulness, clarity, almost as though the spaciousness of your mind has absolutely no boundary with the spaciousness of all space external to your body. Bring your attention now to any emotions that you've sensed in yourself. Maybe they were there before we started practicing together. Maybe they've bubbled up as you've created some silence and stillness. And noticing what's there for you, like a friend quietly present with another friend. Allow that emotion the space it needs to settle down in its own way and in its own time. Letting yourself be present with that feeling, whatever it may be, with a sense also of the space that surrounds it. The actual emotion itself can have many thoughts that are connected to it. Not needing to follow those or invite them. Use your breath. Gentle attention to your breath as a way of just being quietly present with that emotion. Like a friend sitting next to another friend. If you notice that you've gone off on a train of thinking based on a feeling or a sensation, just gently bring your attention back. Bring it right back into your body by connecting it to your breathing. And then resting it a bit, letting it ride your inhalation and exhalation. Take scope of what feelings and sensations are there in you now. And without needing to magnify them or diminish them, let them settle in their own way, in their own time. Giving them a space to be present, giving yourself the gift of presence with them. Notice if you've been holding any tension in your body. Just do a quick scan. And on an exhalation, you can just imagine wherever there's some tension or holding in your muscular skeletal system, you just relax that a bit. It eases, loosens. And completely let go into a state of relaxed wakefulness, compassionately present with whatever emotions you have, letting thoughts just come and go as they naturally do and not paying them any mind. How is that for folks? Should we just keep sitting? The practice of unsupported shamatha is quite advanced. It's very simple. Anyone can do it. It's harder when the mind is more agitated with a lot of thoughts. You might have noticed, depending on where your own experiences of your mind tonight, it's harder to just let go without any anchor, without any focal point, and let your present wakefulness, the lucid quality of your mind, be the place that you hang out. Anyone want to share a experience with that or a question you might have?
I had a question about if there's, it seemed almost like I was trying to figure out how that unsupported shamatha, how is that different from vipassana? Because there's that sort of sense of just being in that state of the mind is just there. So if you can give a little insight on that, that would be great.
Thank you for that question, Faith. Yeah, for those that may be less familiar, talking about the two fundamental meditation techniques of shamatha and then vipassana, which is what Faith just mentioned. And you might be familiar with vipassana meditation. It's of course very popular, also called insight meditation. And I would just preface by saying that they're taught in different ways. One way of thinking about these that I have found to be helpful. So shamatha, again, peaceful abiding, settling the mind down, calming it by resting with one's attention supported by either a visual object or the breath or sound or something that's there. This is a very fundamental meditation technique that we find within most traditions of Buddhism. Not just, of course, Buddhism. And so in some ways, shamatha is really about a focused, training ourselves to have single-pointed concentration. So the mind stays wherever it's placed. We're not distracted all the time and scattered. It allows us to develop that capacity. Vipassana, insight, we go further than that and actually look at the meditator, the thinker. So the practice of vipassana asks us to go beyond just that quality of developing concentration, to in fact start to develop a relationship with the concentrator. And Faith, there, I think, are different ways of vipassana. One actually involves kind of that process of paying close attention to sensations, paying close attention to thoughts, naming them, and kind of developing that capacity to be acutely present of what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what we're experiencing and sensing in real time as we are. We're aware of somebody who's sensing something. We're aware of the person who's feeling something. So what I have seen is that Vipassana also can be a process whereby there is some reference point. And that reference point is the thinker or the sensor. Unsupported shamatha is, I would say, not taking any reference point outside of the lucid quality of mind. I think there's a subtle difference. And I think that connecting to that subtle, present, lucid knowingness is easier the more we train in shamatha using a focal point, getting familiarity with a sense of stillness, so that then we can in fact see what is beyond concepts, the conceptual thinking mind. And Vipassana is also, I think, great support for it, because it's another way, or I should say, it allows us to connect to that other dimension of the knower, but we don't rest on the knower as a focal point. We don't rest on the sensor or the perceiver, or even that awareness of a sensation. So it's like, I've never been in space. I've never been in a zero gravity situation. We talked about this once before. I can't remember, Aaron, if you have. No, okay. I think it's something like that, this practice. There isn't any reference point. And that's also why we don't hold it for very long. It's so subtle. We start to reify. We start to grasp so quickly. So this is a practice of training in weightlessness, spaciousness, hanging out there without any reference point, crystal clear lucidity. And it doesn't last long before we start to weight it down. So that's why it's taught when we do this, you kind of interrupt it again and again. It's quite an amazing practice, and one that I would say takes some time. I'll read you a little bit more of instructions about it. I think these are very, very helpful. In all instances of pursuing a state of calm, doing so with too much concentration and intensity may hinder lucid attentiveness. For the most part, it's more suitable simply to relax. It's really something. As soon as we think, I'm going to meditate, I'm meditating, I'm doing a practice, there's something different. We talked about this last week as well. There's some kind of contrived dimension. We try, it is a training. So we just drop right into that. And then the moment you release it, the moment you kind of the bell dings and the meditation's over, it's almost like that's the moment of genuine meditation, because you let it go. Everything goes right at that moment. That's the moment. And so that's why this is practiced kind of again and again, again and again. And eventually that moment is the state. Utter relaxation, utter. And not any sloth or fogginess to it. And you might also just naturally have the sense for yourself, I need to begin my meditation with a technique that I'm used to, that I know works well for me. So using a focal point, either my breath or a visual object, to allow some settling to happen, to ground myself, to center myself. And then you could experience with letting that go. And letting your lucid awareness be the place that you just hang out, utterly relaxed. And then, if you feel like there's a strong emotion that you've been sitting with, you could do that practice of cultivating a compassionate presence with emotions. At the end of our session, I had a sense of, I was kind of sitting here, and here was this part of great awe that I had of the natural beauty of our world, and a sense of just despair over the changes and the loss of ecosystems. And there was hope over there too, at being able to just create an ecosystem, and some excitement at, or inspiration. So it's interesting. I had a sense I was here with a whole bunch of friends. I was here with a whole bunch of emotional friends. What was that? What was the movie? Inside Out. Is that what it was? Just all the little parts of you, the brain, all those parts of us. We can be present with them. Faith, was that somewhat addressing your question?
Yeah, thank you. It just, while we were doing the practice, it was really, it's so subtle. And just that kind of, I'm always trying to figure out, what am I doing? And so I have to hear this over and over again. So it's really helpful to just have it explained, kind of, these are the places where it's the same, and these are the places where it's different. And then I can understand what tool I need to pick up on any given session. But that was very helpful, and it's much more clear. Thank you.
Of course. One of the beauties of the Buddhist meditation tradition is that there quite literally are limitless techniques. And they allow any individual person to explore on subtler and deeper levels the nature of their own experience, mind, being. So shamatha is a great meditation practice, peaceful abiding, using our breath, using an object, and it doesn't end there. That's a doorway, a gateway into progressively subtler and subtler ways of working with our mind and experience. That's also just good to know. And it doesn't at all mean that shamatha isn't a lifelong practice. Any other questions or reflections?
I found my mind briefly going to, I think about when I get up in the morning and sit out on the front patio with my little cup of coffee and, listening to the birds, just kind of taking it in. I'll find that, even if it's only for just a brief, few seconds where everything just kind of blanks out and you just kind of feel suddenly peaceful. And that's what I found here. And it's made me kind of think that maybe I shouldn't try and find more times, during the day and throughout my life to kind of just sit there and have this practice where I try and do it when I go to work, because I'll sit in my car for about 5 minutes before I'll go into the, into the simulator. Or when I go fly, sit there peacefully for a couple minutes just to kind of let things settle out. And that's kind of what I felt, this was like, was just kind of a way of, I hate to say blanking out because that's not what it is, but I used to love doing it as a kid. You mentioned the zero gravity. As a kid, I used to go float in the pool, and I'd kind of go below the surface of the water. I'd blow the bubbles out to where your body would just kind of float there in just perfect silence. And I could find very things in life that were more peaceful than that. So, anyways, that was what I found it to be like.
Beautiful. Thank you. And you know what I really appreciate about what you just said, Erin, is in fact, those kinds of, I call them sacred pauses, naturally are there. We may be doing that naturally, as you just said, kind of that moment of, okay, coffee on the balcony and there's birds. And absolutely a sacred meditation pause like that we can weave throughout the whole day. Really, that's the point also, right? It's to make practice seamless. It's not to further bifurcate my meditation from the rest of my lived experience through the day. And the more that we can recognize them as they already are part of what we're doing, and even bring them in more with intention, the more the practice becomes a way of being. And the more you might start to notice how it infuses your interpersonal interactions. The qualities and ways that you connect with others can start to shift through that as well. I love that there's 2 dogs. There may be more, maybe someone else has a dog. I love that 2 dogs have joined us tonight. Hi guys. I'm so happy that you're here. I was hoping mine would come in, but she didn't come in this morning. Anyone else, a question or reflection? Something to share?
Feeling so grateful to have the time and space to practice together as a community. I wonder, I've been thinking a lot about what is our practice in terms of how we relate to it socially, because that's just as important as how we're relating to it individually. So how we practice differently, how our practice is different when we're with the teacher, when we're with a group of people who we trust and love and have a context with, and what kind of space that holds for all of us. I think it's really, for me, it's really helpful to have to be together on Thursday nights. So thanks everyone, and thanks to Chris for continuing to lead all the techniques, all the ways in which we kind of touch on something new or something that feels familiar in terms of technique, that reminds us that we can do this. We can. Something feels right, and that's the thing that we should do right now. So I just appreciate it. I'm happy to be together.
Thank you, Tracy. Yeah, I would also add to that, if something doesn't feel right, if something feels more difficult, if something doesn't quite land and there's questions about it, and I'm not sure I really get that or understand it, that's great too. That's absolutely fine too. And I invite all of you to hold those places just for what they are, with curiosity and openness. There's more to learn. There's more to experience. And that, thank you, Tracy, is the beauty of having community, for sure. A place to do that and cultivate that together. So I'm grateful myself for connecting with all of you this morning and giving me the chance to sit with all of my emotional friends that were triggered by a octopus. If you can watch, this is a real heart-opening documentary, unlike any I've seen in a long time. So, wishing all of you.
Where did you see that? Was it on Netflix?
I saw it on Netflix. It's on Netflix. Yeah. My Octopus Teacher.
Is it good to watch at night right before bed, or?
I would say, it is, I think it's fine to watch anytime. It's very beautiful. It's a heart opener. Yeah, it's fine to watch it anytime, I think. Wishing all of you a good evening and looking forward to connecting again soon. Yeah. Peace and healing to everybody in the world. Thank you. Thanks. Thanks,
you.
Deb.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night, everybody.
Thanks, Erin. Take care.
Good night, Erin. Good night,
Thanks.
everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.